And if we were to be testing these above ground in 2025 in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the country where wind patterns can change and you're just going to blow radioactive fallout all over US citizens, yeah, let's not do that. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And if the world wasn't insane enough already, if you didn't have nuclear arms race and potential nuclear Armageddon on your 2025 bingo cards, well, it's unfortunate for you because, yes, Donald Trump has just announced that the United States will resume testing nuclear weapons. Man, that doesn't seem great. But is he crazy, or is there an actual reason for this? Did China, Russia push him to the limit? Are we looking at Cold War II, Cold War Electric Boogaloo, Cold War Tokyo Drift? Well, that's what we aim to find out in this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel. Let's jump into it and talk about what is going on with these nukes. So yes, right before he arrived to a trade meeting with President Xi from China, Trump announced that the United States would resume testing nukes. Let's see what he had to say.
Do you worry that we're entering a more risky environment when it comes to nuclear issues?
No, I don't think so. I think we have it pretty well locked up. But we have more than anybody. But I see them testing. I say, well, if they're going to test, I guess we have to test. I'd like to see a denuclearization because we have so many, and Russia has some. Russia's second, and China's third, and China will catch up within 4 or 5 years. I think de-escalation would be, they would call it denuclearization, would be a tremendous thing, and it's something we are actually talking to Russia about that.
So some interesting things there and some important things there. He had said, if they're going to test, we're going to test. That's actually in reference to Russia making the announcement that they just tested out their Poseidon drone torpedo, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I also think it's interesting that in an announcement that, by the way, is extremely unprecedented. For those of you who don't know, the United States hasn't tested a nuclear warhead in over 30 years, and no other country other than North Korea has tested a nuclear warhead in 25 years. So this is actually a massive deal and a massive ramp up in potential escalations. He also says, we'd like to denuclearize. Okay, bizarre. Usually if you're acting in good faith and you want to do something like, I don't know, denuclearize, you don't announce that you're going to resume testing the nukes. But I digress. Maybe there's a good reason for it. Let's see what Russia's been up to. So this absolute nightmare of a munition is what Russia supposedly just tested out. It's their Poseidon torpedo drone, and what this thing is designed to do is essentially be a underwater drone, autonomous, that you can launch. It can go up to 10,000 kilometers, supposedly, down to the depths of the ocean, not trackable, supposedly, as far as we know. And what it's designed to do is detonate off the coast of a major coastal city, as you can see in this image, which creates a 1,600-foot tsunami that will absolutely wipe out that coastal city. And even worse, yes, it makes all that water full of radiation, which absolutely destroys the potential of anybody living there or inhabiting that area afterwards. Real nasty. Now, obviously, if Russia's testing shit like that, yeah, I get it, where Trump's coming from. However, I guess Trump's not getting very good reporting because they didn't test the warhead on it. All they did was test the delivery mechanism. So no, they're not blowing massive tsunamis somewhere as a test and flooding areas with radiation. All they did was test the actual torpedo itself. So the fact we're going to now test nuclear warheads, yeah, not sure that's a great idea. But Trump's not wrong. It's not just Russia. China is also currently in a nuclear arms race to catch up, okay? So they've actually doubled their arsenal of nuclear weapons since 2020, and estimates are showing that they will have up to 1,000 by 2030. Now, how many is that compared to the United States and Russia? Well, you can take a look here. So as we just talked about, yes, China doubled from 300 to 600 in the last 5 years, on track to hit 1,000 by 2030. Comparatively, the United States has a stockpile of over 5,000, and Russia has a stockpile of 5,500. So as you can see, they got a ways to go, but at the same time, you can see that none of the three big nuclear players have any interest in denuclearization like Trump brings up. Obviously, if China's rapidly building them, Russia's testing delivery mechanisms, the United States announcing that it's going to start retesting, dropping actual warheads, yeah, that seems like a massive ramp up in escalation, not de-escalation. So where would the United States be testing these, and what would they be testing? Well, Nevada, of course, because that's where we've always tested them. Big open desert. And yes, we used to in the open ocean, but hopefully we've learned some lessons, like, I don't know, maybe dropping shit tons of radiation into the ocean isn't a great idea. And also, maybe not detonating them above ground, as that nuclear fallout kind of will cover the entire country. But let's take a look at some historical information on previous tests. Yes, the Nevada test site, only 65 miles north of Las Vegas, where we used to test a lot of our nuclear weapons. And we have learned a thing or two since then about, nuclear fallout and wind patterns and stuff like that, which we'll talk about here. So yes, the fallout, which is obviously a big problem with testing these weapons. It says here, when the testing began, the United States government was confident that meteorologists could predict weather and wind patterns to help prevent radiation from spreading. However, recent unclassified documents have revealed that the fallout from the test drifted across most of the United States. St. George, Utah is one of the major examples of this. Wind currents caused residents of Utah to be affected by radioactive fallout. Particles that spread, such as iodine-131, can enter the body through contaminated food, drinks, air, and eventually lead to cancer or birth defects. While the testing occurred, especially in the 1950s, residents did not know about the possible health risks. People had picnics at high points to watch the test. Nuclear fallout was not clearly understood. Cancer rates in this area increased from 1950 to 1980, and many citizens in St. George now believe that the testing caused deaths, cancer, and a variety of health issues in their families. Which, later in the 1990s, we realized, hey, maybe we should test these underground so we don't kill our own citizens with cancer. So I would assume this is what the United States would do if it was going to actually start resuming these tests, which I don't believe it's going to. I think Congress most likely will immediately shut this down as well. Again, since no other countries are actually testing the warheads. So for us to start doing this, yeah, probably not very smart. And if we were to be testing these above ground in 2025, in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the country where wind patterns can change and you're just going to blow radioactive fallout all over U.S. citizens, yeah, let's not do that. Now, let's take a look at what are the actual strengths of these things now, because obviously the power of nuclear weapons has drastically increased since we used it in World War II. There's a cool website called NukeMap. All right, so what NukeMap allows you to do is put in a location, put in your warhead yield that you want. I put in the B-83, which is supposedly the largest bomb that the United States currently has. And then you can click detonate, and you can see the actual effects of it, right? You get the fireball radius, moderate blast damage, thermal radiation, light blast damage. You know what's poetic? I put in Los Angeles because I figured, hey, that's probably one of the main cities that if the East actually attacked, it would get hit right from the West Coast. And hilariously enough, the website automatically put the detonation point right on Skid Row, which I would say if it's going to land anywhere in LA, probably not the worst place. But as you can see, this thing would absolutely devastate everything all the way out towards, I mean, look at that. Pasadena, Hollywood Hills, Beverly Hills, massive destruction. But then we have to also ask, what about the costs to start doing stuff like this, to revamp our arsenal, to start testing all this out? Because, yes, the government's shut down. We're $38 trillion in debt. We can't afford to pay our troops, can't afford SNAP benefits. I don't know. Maybe is this the right time for this? Let's take a look. All right, so website here, Union of Concerned Scientists, where they talk about how much does it actually cost to create a singular nuclear weapon. Very interesting article. Now, they even say here, not easy to do because, of course, no simple answer to this question, in part because government data and the costs associated with nuclear weapons are not complete and typically not open to the public, but they've done a good job of sort of guesstimating, adding everything in, the deployment mechanisms, the development, everything like that. And when we get down to the bottom, what they've come up with is, what does it all add up to, assuming the DOE and the DOD plans move forward and the United States makes further modest reductions in its deployed and reserve arsenal to a total of 3,000 weapons. The United States will spend some $250 billion on new nuclear warheads and delivery systems in the next few decades. That's roughly equal to 30 years of federal funding for Head Start programs for kids. Yeah. So we got to ask ourselves, we have 5,000 plus nuclear weapons already. Do we really need to spend 250 billion of taxpayer dollars on creating more and testing them? I don't know. Seems like we have enough to destroy the entire world like 100 times over. We might be good. And so one final reminder to everybody out there that nobody wins in nuclear Armageddon outside of, people like Mark Zuckerberg that have built $270 million bunkers underneath the ground in Hawaii. So the rest of us either get turned to pink mist and radioactive ash or have to live in the apocalyptic fallout like it's Mad Max. So if you're not worth billions of dollars, you probably shouldn't be cheering this one on. That's going to do it for this one. Catch you on the next video.